Started the recording. Yeah. So as I just told you about the agenda, we will start off with an introduction to business analysis and then deep dive into requirements management. What is business analysis? Now, this is one question that's frequently asked by professionals who are new to this role, who want to migrate to this role and don't know exactly what business analysis is all about. So they need to know before getting to this role, what exactly it is all about. So the way I look at business analysis is by looking into these key four elements, the four key elements that you see on the screen. Okay, so this is coming straight out of Bebok, the way Bebok describes this, and that's what we all as trainers correlate with, resonate with. So it is a practice in which you develop a solution to a customer's business need or problem. Okay, so as a business analyst, you create customized solutions for your business, the problems that are faced by the business, and that solution should give maximum benefits to your customer. So if I put it in a small example form, we all are aware of the online banking platforms that we currently use. So we are doing banking currently in using online banking platforms, right? Now, this banking platforms started gaining momentum somewhere in the late 90s. But before that, if you go back a little before time, when traditional banking methods existed, there were a lot of challenges with those traditional methods. So those days, all the payments transfers had to be done using where you have to physically visit the bank. So the banks had a pressing need to provide better services to their customers. They wanted to provide convenience to their customers, ease in transactions. They want to reduce the wait times that customers experienced when they visited their branches, because there used to be heavy queues. So based on that particular need came a solution of what we have today, the online banking platform. And some of the features that you see on the online banking platform, as viewing your account statement, doing a transfer of a fund, making a bill payment, all of those features have been arrived upon based on the needs, based on the challenges that the customers had, the bank had, as well as the bank's customers had. So, and we know what are the benefits this platform has provided us, right? It has provided us ease of use. Anywhere, anytime you can transfer money to anyone. You can make a bill payment in the midst of work. You don't need to visit the bank anymore. Banks also experience a drastic amount of reduction in the footfalls on the bank, so they could reduce the number of branches that they had, which further reduced cost for them. So this is a typical example of a solution that was addressing a business need and that gave the customer maximum benefits. The change element, which you see right towards the end, it said that's an act of transformation. Now this online banking platform, as an example which I gave you, it has transformed the way we were previously doing banking, right? So that's the reason I say that as business analysts, we are change enablers. We bring about a change either in our customers' organization, or if it's a product that's rolled out to the general public, we can change the way people do things. So that's what the change element is in business analysis. To go to the next slide, some of the key responsibilities of a business analyst. So the business analyst responsibilities start right from understanding the business need, the challenges that are faced by the customer's organization, and then crafting a solution that is the best fit for that business need. And when you're creating a solution, just like I told you about the online banking platform, every feature of that solution has to be understood carefully and documented. So that's where elicitation comes into place, where we do a detailed elicitation, requirements gathering, and understand every feature and document it in detail. Requirement analysis is where a BA starts designing and modeling the requirements. in terms of process flow diagrams, activity diagrams, prototypes, wireframes, mockups, which can be shown to the customer, which can be shown to the technical team, and approval can be obtained on the same. Requirements management, which is today's chapter, which is today's topic of discussion, that primarily focuses on change requests received from the customer, prioritization of requirements, and traceability. How effectively can we trace requirements in project? So this is something that we are going to deep dive on and see what are the challenges that are there in the industry. Managing UAT, user acceptance testing, is another responsibility that we handle as a BA, where we create an UAT plan and then guide UAT users as to how they need to conduct the UAT and further program manage it until we get a sign off so that we can release it in production. Once the solution gets into production, we get involved in user trainings, where we prepare user guides, train the users on the ground how to use our applications. So these are some of the key responsibilities that I have underlined here, which are handled by business analysts. Now let's take a quick look at the challenges that a BA faces in requirements management. Okay. Now these challenges are not only specific to BAs. The same story is with project managers. Project managers are project managers, technical leads, software testers. It's a whole gamut. Your entire project team gets affected when requirements are not handled properly. Okay. Lack of a centralized repository. This is one thing that I've experienced during my early stages of my career. So those days when I began my career as a business analyst, we did not have much tools existing in the market which could act as a centralized repository. So our documentation was always lying loosely in Word format, Excel format. Test cases were written by testers in Excel sheets, and the testing results was also pasted in another Excel sheet. So which where you, in this particular scenario, if you see all the requirements, test cases, the development, everything is lying in silos. Nothing has a connection with each other. So it becomes extremely cumbersome in a large project where you have large number of requirements when you are not storing it appropriately. You don't have a repository where your requirements are talking to your test cases. Test cases are under a test plan and so on. Okay, that's what happens when you do lack a centralized repository. The second point is the impact analysis. Now, in large projects, as the complexity of the project increases, these requirements have multiple dependencies. So one change in one requirement can trigger a chain of changes that can affect other requirements, stories, epics, the bugs, the test cases. So when you don't have a repository where all of this is linked together, it is very, very difficult for a BA who is doing impact analysis to understand if requirement number one has changed, what are the other requirements which are dependent on this requirement, which I need to modify. It's difficult for the testers to identify which test cases have to be modified. Another big challenge is the frequent change requests, and I believe each one of you will resonate with this. Frequent change requests are inevitable in our projects. Okay, we can't live without these change requests. So they keep on coming from the customer. But one of the prime reason that I have noted is these change requests come from the customer late because you do not involve your stakeholders early in the requirement life cycle. Early when you are analyzing the requirements, documenting it, there is not enough participation from these stakeholders. So it is very vital for us as we are capturing our requirements, we baseline our requirements and focus on the changes that are pre-approved by the customers. Have certain changes pre-approved by the customers before you take it into development. Versioning is another parameter where there is a lot of confusion as to which requirements go into which version of the product. So again, if you are having a tool like Jira that has a separate attribute as version, where you can include a version number this requirement should go with. So reusing requirements across project also can reduce a good amount of rework and improve the productivity. But if you are doing it, capturing all your requirements using a word, then reusing these requirements it's not possible. It becomes a Herculean task. Some of the best practices that we discuss in our masterclass programs of how you can better manage your requirements. I say that requirements management should start right from the elicitation phase, right from the stage that you are gathering requirements from your customer. So, and it starts right at the beginning of the project where you are in the process of identifying your right stakeholders. So this is also a common mistake that's made by BAs. They start collecting requirements from a customer SPOC that they have been introduced with without further probing in order to discover if there are additional stakeholders who should be involved in the requirements gathering. So they are just introduced to one SPOC and they can continue talking to that SPOC and gathering requirements and building solution based on what he says. And what happens then? It's during UAT, new stakeholders arise. During UAT, the business users test the application, and that's when you get new requirements from these users. And that's when you wonder, where is this coming from? So identify your stakeholders well. The most important thing is need assessment. So what I suggest is when a new project is being kickstarted, your first couple of meetings with the business, you should do in-depth need analysis. Understand their business needs, the benefits that they are planning to achieve out of it, and understand the user profiles, the users of the application, the end users who are going to use the application. What are the challenges that they are facing? What are the tasks that they do on a regular basis on the application that they are using? Understand all of that, spend enough time understanding it, all of that. What a common mistake here again I see is business analysts directly jump into the features of the solution and start asking questions to business relating the features. Okay, so if they are developing an online banking platform, they will have questions on how the account balance screen should look like, account statement screen. What are the search engine parameters? Instead of jumping straight into the features, first couple of meetings, spend some time in doing a need assessment. That will give you enough inputs as to what kind of features will be beneficial to your end user. Otherwise, what happens is you end up developing features which give either little value or absolutely no value to your customer, because most of the times customer doesn't know what they want. So that's a reality. The third point says use a proper document management system when you're documenting the initial set of requirements. Your requirements must not be in a very refined state at that stage. It might be some meeting notes that you want to capture. So we used to, in those days, do it all in Word, but it was really cumbersome for us. We did not have any tools during the early phases of our career. But now we have Confluence, which is integrated with Jira, which can efficiently act as a requirement documentation tool, where you can, what I suggest is you capture your early notes on the project, the need assessment study, the user profile information, the meeting notes, capture it in Confluence. It will be much more easy because all of that notes that you capture over there, you can automatically convert it into requirements in Jira. The second parameter is about organizing requirements. Now, requirements, when we used to do it in Word documents, we could not label our requirements with attributes. And what I say about what I mean about attributes is when you open a create issue screen in Jira, you get a set of parameters. You are displayed a set of parameters like issue type, the priority of the issue, the status of the issue, and all of that, the version, the environment. Now, it's only when you use a tool you can efficiently label your requirements with these attributes. And why is it so important? Because every requirement has some priority attached to it. You will get to know who is working on that requirement from the development side, which version number it should go to, and several other parameters. So it is very important for you to label your requirements, so that using these attributes you can even search for your requirements and fetch those requirements in your tool. So say for example you want to look at all the requirements that are in the status of approved, approved by business. So you just quickly run a search and you can see all of those requirements. The third best practice which I advocate is about prioritization. Ask your stakeholders. So prioritization calls are done by BAs jointly with the customer. So ask your customer stakeholders to assign priority to each requirements. So as a best practice, what we used to do in some of the projects that we have used Jira, we used to onboard our customer spokes also into Jira. And each one of them had access to the requirements that are developed by the BA. And during our priority requirement prioritization calls, the customer spoke assigns a priority to each requirement based on our discussion. When these requirements are prioritized and organized in a tree view structure, and I'll show you that tree view structure, it gives you a better view of which requirements have to be taken on a priority and which are low priority ones. The last best practice that I suggest is verification and validation of requirement. Now, verification means having review meetings with your stakeholder. So here again, one common mistake that I find new BAs doing is when uh, when they are done documenting the requirements, they just send an email to the customer saying that the requirements have been uploaded. Please review it and give us a sign off. Which again, I believe is not a very effective way of doing it. You have to get them on a call and walk them through these requirements. That is very, very essential. So have a review meeting with them to gain consensus. And in the review meeting, give them enough explanations in the form of activity diagrams, mock-ups, whatever they are comfortable with. So I usually explain my requirements to my customer stakeholders with a mock-up. I don't show them the textual documentation that I have done. All the documentation that I have written in that um, particular issue, I explain it with the help of a mock-up, because they can relate more when they look at a mock-up. And that I believe has helped us in many scenarios to get agreement on the requirements. So model your requirements in the best format that's suitable for your project, so that your stakeholders can understand it in a better way. Like for example, if you are describing a complex process, on the customer side. If you write it in textual format, it will be a little difficult for the person reading it to understand. So you do a small process flow diagram, which can give a visual representation of that. So based on your project requirements, you can decide how you can model your requirements and better present it to your stakeholders. Again, the tree structured view of requirements, which I'm going to show you in a while now, we'll come to that. Impact analysis, the most important area here, which affects requirements management very deeply. Impact analysis, in this one common mistake that BAs make during impact analysis is that they understand the implications of the change. I found that new BAs, they work hard to understand how this particular change is going to impact several other screens, or it's going to impact, is it going to require, does it require a database change and all of that. So they understand the implications, they discuss with the technical team and arrive um, on an impact analysis document saying that, okay, these are the impacted areas. But once they have done that, they fail to identify which documents, models, or files have to be modified. This again, it's a Herculean task for a BA if the BA is not using a tool. So if you are all your documents are lying physically in manual Word documents and stuff like that, then it is very difficult for you to identify which documents have to be modified and which test cases have to be modified and all of that. So we come to the point, why Jira? Why use Jira's RTM app for requirements management? It allows us to track the whole development process, right, from collection of requirements to till the time it gets into production. So I'll show you the interface that RTM app provides, and it will help you document and structure your requirements, create test cases and test plans, execute those test plans, and then link it to the defects that you found. So all in one tool. That's a facility that it offers. And I will just show you a quick glimpse of the tree view structure that's provided by this RTM app. So you see all the requirements in the screenshot are organized in a tree view structure, and one of the requirements is opened up for you, login and password, which is showing you the different attributes that are, which I just spoke in some time ago, the attributes that are assigned to that requirement in terms of the priority, the version number, and you can have many more attributes of your own. You can go to your project settings in Jira and add several more attributes if you want to have additional ones. Okay, so all of these requirements, if you see, they are properly organized in a tree view structure, and based on the priority, you can move them up and down. In the tree view, you have complete flexibility to do that. So this is test cases. The next one is the test cases and test plans. So once you have created your requirements using this RTM app, you can link these requirements to test cases. So your testing team can start writing test cases and upload the same and link it to your functional requirement. Once the test pack is ready, you can create a test plan and assign those test cases to that test plan. Okay. What does it do is, see, a test plan can have a bunch of test cases associated with it, and you can execute that test plan and monitor the progress of it, of the test execution. Okay, let me quickly show you the interface over here. Yeah, so if you can see my screen right now, this is a small demo project that I have created for today's session, where I have added some business requirements and I've added functional requirements below it and organized in a tree view structure. So I have user registration as the first business requirement, and I have user login as a second business requirement. I have broken down those business requirements in each one into three functional requirements. So it's all very easy here. If you just click on this plus icon, you get a new requirement screen over here. You can select the issue type, functional requirement, non-functional, business requirement. All of these issue types, any one of them you can select based on the requirement that you are adding in the tool. You can add all details of your requirements in the fields that are given. There is a whole huge list of fields: priority, components, fixed version, if you want to attach some specific documents to it. So my functional requirements used to have mockups or process flow diagrams, which my customer can go through and review the requirements. So all the attachments, additional documents can be attached over here. And then we have test cases. So you can link this requirement that you're writing, you can link it to test cases if the test cases are already done. Otherwise, once you have added the requirement, your testing team can go and add it separately as well. Okay, I'll just open up a requirement that I have created and show it to you. So this is requirement for functional requirement that I've created for registration using LinkedIn. Okay, registration facility using LinkedIn. So I have entered details and I have added some test cases. Let me show that. Yeah, this registration is having some test cases associated with it. So this is registration using the email address of a person. So I've added details of my functional requirement, complete details of the functional requirement, and then added test cases linked to this functional requirement. Okay. The relation tabs, this is very crucial, guys. Again, plays a crucial role when you do impact analysis. So here we can define relations that this functional requirement has with other requirements. Like for example, registration of using email address, I can directly link it to a login using email address, because any changes that's happening on this particular screen will have a direct impact on my login screen as well. So I can create there is a facility to create links. Okay, you can click on this and just create links, and it will show you the existing links that are already there, that it's linked to so many test cases. So once you have uploaded your requirements in this format, that there is a separate facility to add test cases. So these are the test cases that I have added for the demo project. Okay, so your testing team can go here and create test cases. So usually in the requirements development process, the BAs first document the requirements. So at the time of documenting the requirements, you might not have the test cases in place. So you complete your documentation of requirements, then later on ask your testing team to go and add test cases here. Okay, and link it to your requirements. So when they add a test case, is very, very important for them to link it to a appropriate requirement. So like the one you see over here. Okay, you see these test cases have relationships between these functional requirements. So it will show you in your requirements tab, it will show you the test case is linked to which requirement. So once you have created requirements, second step is to create the test cases, then go and create a test plan. Now, what is a test plan? Let me show you a sample test plan. So this is a sample test plan that I have created. And what does it contain? It contains a bunch of test cases. So I've linked a bunch of test cases, the test cases that you saw in the test case module. So I have added these test cases, after which I executed it. When I execute a test plan, it shows me, okay, this test plan is currently in progress. So that means when your testing team picks it up for testing, that's when you have to execute that test plan. Okay. And then on a regular basis, once you have executed the test plan, as and when the testing team completes testing a particular module, they can go and update here, test execution here. So in the text execution page, it will show you how much the test plan has been executed based on the status that's updated by your testing team. So they can click on a particular test case and they can say, okay, this particular test case failed and there was a defect associated with it. So they can say, okay, I want to create a defect. So they can invoke the create defect screen from here, So you see automatically the test case is linked to the defect. So the test plan, test case, defects, everything is having a proper linkage right from the requirements, There is a separate module for defects also, where you can the testing team can enter their defects directly over here, create a defect and associate that defect to a particular test case. So this is how, guys, in RTM, when you use the RTM app from the Atlassian marketplace, these are the different options that come under test management. You automatically get the moment you download that app, you get a set of options in Jira, which is called test management options. And these are the different sub options that come under it, which help you better manage your requirements. Coming to the reports that these requirements create, let me show you some reports. Yeah, you can have test case execution reports like this, where in a pie chart format, you can see exactly how many test cases failed, how many passed, and how many are in progress, and the other, how many are blocked. All of that you can have in different formats. All of these test execution reports, which is again a very, very essential in large projects, because you have a large number of test cases running, and when you're doing it all manual, I mean, I've seen many testing teams purely storing their test cases in Excel sheets. And there was a time when we used to store the test cases in Excel sheets, and only the defects, there was a QC tool to store the defects. That itself, there was no link between the test cases and the defects, and it was even difficult for the tester to understand how many test cases she has finished executing, and how many defects she has logged for a particular test case. So this gives you a consolidated view. It gives a consolidated view not only to the tester, but the project manager as well as the BA, to understand which feature is in what state of testing. Okay. Yes, it's not visible. Yes. Some of the other key reports that you will find in the RTM app, that's traceability metrics and the requirement coverage report. So let me show you test coverage report. Now, what is this report about? This report gives you one consolidated view of the functional requirement that you have written and the test cases associated with with that requirement, plus the test plan that is going to execute those test cases. So you have requirements, test cases, test plan, test executions, and the result of those test execution in one single view. So that shows you the testing coverage, which makes you further decide and arrive on a conclusion as to how good we are with this particular feature. Should we actually take it to production, or do we need more time to retest it because it's full of bugs? So as a project manager or business analyst, you can better communicate the status to the customer stakeholder once you look at this coverage report and the status that is showing beside every test case execution. So one look at this test case coverage report as an analyst, you can say whether all your requirements, whether there are test cases attached to all your requirements, and how many of those test cases are actually failed, how many passed, and how many are blocked. Then your traceability metrics. And what is traceability metrics? The linkages that I showed you between the requirements, the test cases, test plans, and text executions, all of those linkages are maintained in the Jira. And when we want to quickly have a look at, suppose you are doing an impact analysis, okay, there's a change request come from the customer, and you want to understand for this particular requirement, what are the dependent requirements and what are the test cases that are going to be impacted. So you can quickly extract a traceability report. And this is how the traceability report looks like. So you can change the X and Y coordinates of it as per your needs. So here, if you see, the test cases are arranged as columns, and the requirements are arranged as rows in the report, and it's showing us which requirement has which test case connected to it. So suppose the BA is changing requirement number 3, so she knows exactly which test cases have to be modified by the testing team. One look, if the testing team looks at this traceability report, even they can very quickly identify, okay, these are the 2 test cases that are getting impacted. So that's what traceability helps us in, guys. It helps us. So, and in traceability, you can add as many columns as required, and you can trace it to different levels of documentation that you have in your project. Okay, here we are, for ease of simplicity, we have taken a screenshot of only requirements and the test cases, so to find out the linkages between them. Now, so this is net the functionality that I have explained about the RTM tool, the RTM app that's there in Atlassian Marketplace. Now, how do we get this? How can we configure this in Jira? It's a plug and play configuration. There is no hyphen do rocket science behind it. So you just need to log into Jira with your admin credentials. When you go to, let me just show you the interface. Yeah. Okay, so if you can see my screen right now, I have logged in with my admin credentials. If I go to apps, here, it will give you an option, find new apps. Click on that, find new apps. So you can search for the RTM tool over here, and it will retrieve. See, just type RTM, it will show you requirements and test management for Jira. Now for me, it shows that it's already added. So here, once you click on that, this particular app, it will just ask you which particular project you need to configure it for. You can select a particular project, and it's up and running for you too. So you might have to do some basic configuration of um, uh, letting the app know which issue types are trapped in your project, what kind of issues, whether it's epics, user stories that you want, or functional requirements, business requirements. So just configure those issue in one screen, and in two steps, it's all done. The RTM app will be integrated with Jira. And on your on the left hand side panel, you'll start seeing a option for test management. That's where you can invoke all these features that I just showed you, where you can go and create a review folder structure of requirements, then associate test cases to those requirements and test plans and so on. Here, this will be the option that will be available for you. As soon as you get this app installed, test management will be one option that comes up, and you will get a review folder structure. It's that easy to get it up and running. No rocket science. Okay. So that's net all from my side about requirements and test management in Jira. Why do we need to use Jira for test case management? Because I feel that it's much more it gives you a much more organized view of requirements. The tree view structure makes me a little comfortable in organizing my requirements, and just moving the requirements up and down in between the folders further gives my team heads up as to which requirements is on priority. So that's all from my side. We will open it out for questions, queries from your side.
Thank you, Sajana. That's really a wonderful session and the slides. Yeah, now the platform is open for the audience to post their questions. They can unmute themselves and ask a question.
Hi, I do have a question. I'm Menaka. I'm a project manager currently. So, is there a best practice that you can share with us with respect to the workflow that we can choose when we create a requirement type?
Okay. So for create requirement track, I just showed you the workflow that you can follow. So it's the stepwise that I had summarized it. As a BA, the BA can go and create requirements in Jira. They can create their functional requirements. So you either you can start. What I suggest is you start with the business requirements. So if you have received a full-fledged BRD from the customer, you create a business requirement as a first node and associate each of those business requirement to different functional requirements attached to it. And once those functional requirements are ready, ask your testing team to create test cases. So one, create business requirements, associate your business requirement to function, break it down into functional requirements. Then the third step, ask your testing team to create test cases and link it to those functional requirements. And next step, ask them to create a test plan which will consist of a bunch of test cases which they have already written, and that then as a last step they can execute the test plan. So these are the different steps. So if you want the PPT that we'll circulate also, I will put these steps in place. These are the steps that they have to follow, and the as they follow these steps, the linkages will be maintained by the tool.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Sajna, we have few questions in the chat window.
Okay.
One from Ajinkya and one from Deepthi.
Okay.
Yeah, so Ajinkya here. I have just unmuted myself. So actually my question is regarding the plugin which we have just seen right now. The commercial side of it is basically whether it is on user base or how it is like. So if we are opting for this plugin, so what I've seen on the PPT, it says that it has a free trial, but with respect to paid plugin, how it is going to work. So
it's
can
user
you just
base.
throw some?
It's user base.
Okay. Thank you.
So when you go, what I would suggest, Sajankya, you try out, go for the free trial first. When you download it for free trial itself in that module, it will give you the pricing details. Okay. So once the 30-day trial is over, so it's a user base, $10 for 10 users per month. So it's like that. So you will get all the pricing details over there, and accordingly, as you use it, I suggest everyone to use it on a trial basis first for 30 days, and then by at the end of 30 days, you'll get a fair hang of that tool. You'll understand how to organize your requirements and stuff like that, and your team will also understand. So you will be in a better position to take a decision.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Yes, Deepthi had a question. Can we use it with next generation projects in Jira? No, next gen projects is not there. It's there. This is there for classic projects only. This does not work with next gen projects. To answer your question, Deepthi.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions before we wind up today's session?
Participants, this is the best time you can utilize your time. We have still 5 more minutes left. So any queries regarding the business analysis, usage of Jira or any of the plugins, you may post your questions. And please be informed, the most active participant will be getting a swag coupon from Atlassian. So that's a kind of motivation and respect for your time on this weekend.
Okay. Okay, Govind.
I do have a question, Sajana.
Yeah.
So I'm new to the business analysis, but I do have a Q background. So if I have to understand, and I'm an agile project manager currently. So if I have to understand from the start of the project to the closure of the project, and if I have to understand the entire business analysis, what do you recommend? Where do I start? I mean, would you be willing to share some of the resources where I can kind of do some self-study and start from
Yes.
there?
Yes. What I will suggest that I have a YouTube channel which is called as Business Analysis Guide, where I on a regular basis I create videos about business analysis. So you can take a look at those videos. You can do so it's open to all my students as well as the general public also. So any issues, I usually create videos based on the challenges that are faced by business analysts. So you can take a look at that video, and that videos will guide you, and if you need any additional videos, so I take inputs from my users as to what is the next level of video that they're expecting from me. So you can always post a comment over there, and that this is one challenge that I'm facing, I want a video on that. So it's not a full-fledged channel. We have just started off building this channel last year. So you'll not find a huge bunch of videos, but yes, some of the videos have got tremendous we have got tremendous response from the general public. So you can take a look at that, and we will send you links to that YouTube channel. Okay, I'll send you links to that.
Okay, sure, thank you. And I do have a second question. Is the Q-metry, I know that's meant for design for the agile testing, to build, manage, and deploy all the quality software, but how does that differ from the RTM plugin in Jira?
So most of these other tools that are there in the market, they are more only testing focused. That's what I have seen. So we have this test trial as a tool, test rail. So all of that more testing focused tools, they give you a efficient way in which you can organize your test cases and link them to defects and stuff like that. But not the way RTM gives you. The linkages that RTM the facility that's provided by the RTM app to link the requirements to the test cases, to the test plans, and then see a consolidated report of all those test cases executed. That is something that I really appreciate about this particular tool. Rest of the tools, like I said, in my early days of my career also, we didn't have a requirements management tool like this. We didn't have. So our requirements used to lie in Word documents, and our testers used to write test cases in Excel sheets. And then the testing results used to be stored in a QC tool. So the defects used to be there in a QC tool, and everything in silos. So most of these tools that are available in the market that I have seen and experienced, they're more testing focus only. They do not uh, allow you to create deeper relationship with the requirements, and that's one of the concern area that I have as a business, as a person who is into business analysis. This is one concern area for. They don't allow you to connect your test artifacts to the requirements directly.
Sure, thank you.
So, hi Sanjana, I also had a question.
Yeah.
Generally we have this concept of writing the requirements in Confluence, and also now it seems like we have the ability of creating a Jira ID out of the use cases that we capture in Confluence.
Yes.
So what I wanted to understand is sometimes like when we write a use case, it involves certain modules. So it is not only about, for example, a website and then that website connecting to an inbox. So when we write a use case, there is a particular flow, right? And that is one use case. So if I want to create an epic out of this use case, Generally, it should be focused on one thing, but my use case has two things. One is the website, and then second is the inbox to which some requests from the website would go. So what is the ideal way of doing the entire thing? Like, what is the best way to capture the use case? What is the best way to create an epic out of Confluence requirement? I just wanted to understand that.
Well, Confluence does have a facility in which you can write your requirements, and then those can be directly converted into user stories. What I suggest, the way I have been using it is, I use Confluence primarily to store my initial set of requirements. When the requirements, I'm just discussing a few things with my customer, and it's not requirements are not in a refined state. So my meeting notes, need assessments, and some of the initial requirements that I discuss, I might store it. So there are templates in Confluence which help you easily configure, product requirements template. There's a meeting notes template, and you can create a template of your own as well. So the case that you mentioned, what we do is, in the backlog we create an epic item, rather than I don't try it using Confluence, but I create an epic, and this epic that it can spread across several sprints, right? So you have to break down your epic into smaller chunks of user stories. So you can't combine several functions into a user story. So because then the user story itself becomes an epic, right? So if you're saying that there are multiple flows in the user story that you are writing, that itself is an indication that you have not broken down your user story efficiently. So if you further break it down into 2 or more user stories, it will give complete clarity to your technical team what exactly they need to develop.
Sure, Sajana. Thank you.
Yeah, Sanjana, I have one more question.
Yeah.
So what we understand from this test case which we create in this particular tool, what I understand is this is a manual preparation of test cases, right? So do we have any way to integrate it further with DevOps so that basically, automated test cases can be directly executed from here, and that particular report can be seen here?
Yes. There are REST APIs that are provided. So I'll send you a link to that documentation, because it's all technical documentation, and to tell you frankly, I'm not a technical person. So on their website, they have indicated the RTM plugin they have indicated that there are REST APIs which will help you with automated testing. So I can share a link of that documentation, and you can take a look at it as to how best you can integrate it with your project.
Sure, that will really help. Yeah, thanks.
Sanjana, can we export these test cases or RTM into Excel or?
Yes, dear, you can do that. Yes, Smita.
There are some deliverables that we have to send. So can we use? Can we export it? And
yes, you can, as well as if your test cases are lying in some Excel sheets or maybe in a different tool. So many people, they are like I said, they are using a different testing tool, and in many projects I've seen there are tools for different purposes. Project manager is using a different tool, the BA might be using a different requirement management tool, and the QZ might be using a different testing tool. So this is by using this plugin within Jira, RTM plugin, you can integrate all of this together and make all of them talk to each other. So even if you want to move from one testing tool into this, bring your testing into Jira, the one way that you can do it, you can export all your test cases in CSV format from that tool, and you can import it here. You don't need to rewrite it or anything. You just need to import it. So both import and export functionality is there.
Okay, thank you.